Hello there, folks. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. And I've been making videos of late about borderline personality disorder. And it struck me there might be many of you out there who aren't familiar with what borderline personality disorder is. So I've just been talking about it as if everybody out there knows what it is, and most of you know what it is. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the 9 clinical criteria for borderline personality disorder, I wanted to go over those with you. Therapists get their diagnoses from a diagnostic manual, and the DSM III I think has the best and the simplest description of what borderline personality disorder. I know there's been a DSM IV, a DSM V. I think their descriptions of borderline personality disorder are complex and convoluted, and these 9 things that I'm going to go over come from DSM III, and that'll tell you exactly what a borderline personality disordered individual is. So, number 1, these aren't in order, this is just how the criteria are listed, would be extreme reactions, including panic, depression, rage, or frantic actions to avoid abandonment, whether this abandonment is real or if it's perceived or imagined. So a borderline, one of their defining characteristics is they have really intense abandonment issues. So the borderline that I was involved with had really strong reactions to one of my daughters. She saw her as some kind of competition. If I had a female friend, there was a lot of angst and intense borderline reactions about that. I had a female assistant for a while at work, and there was a lot of drama and chaos and jealousy and control and irrational reactivity around fear of abandonment. A borderline is basically a very unstable, disorganized, chaotic narcissist. Number 2, a pattern of intense and stormy relationships with family, friends, and loved ones, often veering from extreme closeness and love or over-idealization to extreme dislike or anger, or we could even say hatred or devaluation. And that's what is so confusing about interacting with these individuals is one day they act like you're the love of their life, or you're their best friend, you're somebody that they dearly love, but then the splintered off side to themselves may hate you more than any person on the planet. And that's what was so hurtful for me, both as a child growing up, because my mother would do this. She would act like the loving mother, but then she could be vicious and raging. And the borderline that I was engaged to would go from I love you, you're my best friend, to vicious abuse. I actually called the police 7 times on this person due to verbal and physical abuse, and then was discarded as if she hated me more than anybody on the planet. There's a classic book on borderline personality disorder. It's called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. So there's that push and that pull. if you're involved with a borderline, you will be propped up with words of praise and grooming you, love bombing you, if you will, but payday's coming and they can eviscerate you and devalue you like nobody else on the planet. Number 3, a distorted and unstable self-image or sense of themselves, which can result in sudden changes in feelings, opinions, values, or plans and goals for the future, such as school or career choices. These people don't know who they are. They're chameleons worse than a codependent. The borderline I was involved with, really what she was a country girl, sex addict, country line dancing, pick up a new guy every night, alcoholic borderline. That's what she was. But I came along and handed her a script and said, can you play the country girl with a heart of gold? And can you be basically a Carmel housewife and be loving and not cheat and lie? And she was acting the part, and I think she preferred that part to what she's always been, but she was who she was and she acted how she acted. Number 4, impulsive and often dangerous behaviors such as spending sprees, unsafe sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, and binge eating. And I guess what I wanted to add to that, it's not just unsafe sex, it's lots of addictive sex. These people, they're very impulsive, and they don't have boundaries financially, they don't have boundaries sexually, they don't have boundaries with space and time, and many of them die tragic early deaths. Number 5, recurring suicidal behaviors or threats, or self-harming behaviors such as cutting. This borderline I was involved with, I think when I was done with the relationship, and I think perhaps her main other source of supply wasn't available, she arranged my basement like a funeral parlor. She had pictures of her son all around, and she took Ambien, and I arrived and found her unconscious and had to call the police and call the ambulance and had her taken to the hospital. So, but many times with the borderline, it's manipulation. Borderlines do commit suicide, but a lot of times they don't really mean to, but they overshoot their calculations and they end up dead. This woman was just using it to re-engage her other source of narcissistic supply. Number 6, intense and highly changeable moods, with each episode lasting from a few hours to a few days. So that's changing your mood like this. I called my mother in a poem, I called her sunshine, roses, and a thundercloud. And we could all be having a good time and there'd be happiness and peace, going on. And then she turns around and attacks viciously with rage. And you really don't see these attacks coming. And they make you, there's another famous book on borderlines, and that's Stop Walking on Eggshells. When somebody can shift moods that quickly into rage, you're always looking to where, it's just a fearful, scary proposition because you're walking on eggshells because they're just not safe. Number 7, chronic feelings of emptiness and or boredom. The borderline that I was with didn't really have life goals. She didn't really have passions. She lived to suck narcissistic supply from men. And if I wasn't giving her enough attention, she was getting it from various other men. And she didn't really have that sense of self that gives you fulfillment and meaning and joy in life. It's all external. But in her case, it was all something you get from a man. You know, attention, flirting, sex, money. Not something you... A healthy person finds their happiness within themselves. Whereas a narcissist or borderline is looking for supply. Number 8, inappropriate, intense anger or problems controlling their anger. And both my mother, her father, who was a horrible narcissist, in my family, there's always somebody going off. We had family in this weekend and lots of family events, and there was some drama. Nowadays, with video cameras on cell phones, if you do some drama, it gets liable to end up recorded. And we had a prime example of Smith family reactive, inappropriate, raging anger, and it was caught on videotape. It wasn't me, but it's just a family trait, and it's what people and systems that have borderline personality disorder do, is a lot of out of control raging. Number 9 is a two-parter. It might be called like 9A and 9B. 9A is having stress-related paranoid ideation. And what that is ruminating. The borderline I was with would ruminate that I was having an affair with my friend when I'd have dinner with a female friend. And it was real to her, but it was really all about her own chaos and her own sexual acting out. But it made her paranoid. She was afraid that the world would treat her the way she treated the world. 9B would be severe dissociative symptoms, such as feeling cut off from oneself, observing oneself from outside the body, or losing touch with reality. This borderline that I was involved with, part of the discard was she was dissociated from who she was, and she had latched onto this role that I had conjured up for her, and she was telling herself that's who she was. But after further contemplation, she realized she was the same person she'd always been, somebody who is capable of throwing another human being away instantaneously and with no empathy, with no closure, because that person no longer supplies narcissistic supply, whether it's attention or finances or whatever it is the deal is. So these are the 9 criteria for borderline personality disorder. In order to meet the diagnosis, you're supposed to have 5 of the 9, but let me throw a disclaimer in there. You folks out there, most of you aren't therapists, and if you're diagnosing your spouse and they only fit 5 of these, you may not be the most objective source of clinical analysis. I would leave it. Now, obviously, if they fit all 9 and it describes them like, you know, a slam dunk that nobody could dispute, they're a borderline. All right, I'm not saying you can't use common sense to diagnose, but if it's, no, they definitely don't have 3 or 4 of these, then we could say they have borderline tendencies and then leave it to a good therapist or good clinician to assess if they have this. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood what I'm talking about when I talk about borderline personality disorder. These 9 criteria come from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, DSM III, and that's where therapists get their little labels, and in this case, a very relevant and a very dangerous label. I will say this, that I've understood and known about borderline personality disorder for 30 years. I just didn't recognize how truly dangerous one was. They're very, very dangerous people who can bring great harm. And the reason I didn't understand how dangerous this woman in my life was is, the truth is, my whole life I was raised and mothered by a woman who was extremely dangerous and extremely incongruent with who she pretended to be. She pretended to really be my mom and that we had a loving relationship, but in reality, when I needed her the most, when I was an infant, she didn't care and she didn't bond, and she allowed my little baby self to basically be nearly destroyed with abandonment. Thankfully, Mother Nature has arranged a way for us to heal our wounds, and it's called reenacting your unresolved issues with the parent who hurt you the most, and that's the plan. So I am going to discuss this plan of healing in the next video, and this next video is going to be called Narcissistic Abuse Equals Inner Child Healing. I think it might be one of the most important videos I make. So thank you for watching today. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, please do that. Also, I have a great book on abandonment issues. Borderline personality disorder is, they are rife and filled and dominated by abandonment issues. So the more you can learn about that, the better. You can get that book at familytreecounseling.com. Thank you for watching today, and God bless.